Hello, Rebels. Raw Rebel Talk, episode 65. George Floyd. So, hopefully, I'm not going to get any glitches during this thing. But, and sorry, I'm on a little later than I normally am on. But as you can see, last week I was protesting. I had went to two protests. I went to the one in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and then they had another one in Coral Springs, Florida. So I attended two different protests on two different days. One of them being Blackout Tuesday, uh, which was pretty interesting. Everybody on social media participated. Almost everybody participated on social media. But I just wanted to talk some more about it because it is a current event that's going on during our time, which is really good, actually. If you think about it, it's something positive, more positive, and the right step towards the Black community. I think that it's a good thing that we're standing up for ourselves. Now, I don't want to take away from what this all means, which is going to be justice for George Floyd and defunding the police force, because the police don't need no more funds. There's enough funds for the police already, especially since they need to go back to some proper training or whatever. And we need to get rid of these racist cops that are in the police force. But a lot of people are talking about, because there's what all of this is for was for to end systematic racism in the country. Point blank, period. We want that to end. We don't want any more racism. I think that you can say is one of the underlying causes for Black Lives Matter, but a lot of it has to do with killing Black people, majority of Black men getting killed by police officers. Now, a lot of people are focusing more on the rioting and stuff, which is what the media is stating. Now, because the media is focusing more on that, you think that our attention is towards the media and everything, but it's really not. We're more focused on what the protesters are stating, which is stuff like defunding the police force, or defunding police, ending systematic racism, getting rid of racist cops. These are things that we should be focusing on. We're not going to be focusing on the rioting, even though it's terrible that the rioting is going on. That's not what the protest is about. The protest is not there for us to be rioting and causing havoc. Now, that's what most people are thinking about, or a lot of people which I think alt-right is taking the little bit of people that are causing the riots and doing the rioting, and they're taking that and trying to blow it up to cover over what the real issues are. Because the real issues are, like I stated, like what we want to come from all of this protesting. We don't want to, hold on. Hopefully I'm not being interrupted. I can't really tell. I can't really tell till after I watch the video, but anyway. Hold on. This is why I say I need a new laptop, because this stuff keeps happening. Okay. So we don't want to take away from what our message really means, which is what alt-right wants us to do. Alt-right wants us to forget the message that we're trying to spread and focus mostly on the rioting and stuff. The rioting and stuff that's going on, it is no result from us wanting justice. That's not what the message of Black Lives Matter message is. And that's not what the Black Lives Matter is trying to spread. The alt-right is what I believe or the rioting is what I believe is due to people taking advantage of the opportunity to get stuff that they either wanted for themselves or just to cause destruction because they're bored or they find that as an outlet to relieve themselves of anger or whatever. So those are what I think are some of the reasons why. I think, to be honest, some people also joined the rioting due to the fact that they are angry about what's going on as far as systematic racism, and they're tired of peaceful protesting, and that still has nothing to do with what the peaceful protest was all about. We still want to protest peacefully and keep the message of George Floyd, for justice for George Floyd, out in the world. I think that some people that are rioting and doing damage or destruction, those people are just angry because they feel like rioting, they feel like peaceful protesting is not gonna make any change, which that I can understand. Even still, I can understand. Not saying I agree with them. I don't believe that it will, but I understand their point of view on it, because this is not something that hasn't been protested before. Like protesting to stop police brutality against Black lives has been protested before. Even the kneeling, which started with Colin Kaepernick, was a protest to stop police from killing black young men or Black young women. And yet we went unheard. And yet they were even told that that we should stop, that the protest was, we weren't allowed to protest that was a wrong way to protest. I've had watched a video where somebody was basically stating there's no right way to protest this, because we've never had to deal with this before in our life, like or we shouldn't have to deal with this. This shouldn't be a thing that should be something that we have to actually deal with, is where we need a protest against Black police trying to kill Black men and women in this country. It shouldn't be a thing that should even be on the radar, which is true. And that's why we're protesting, is so that it can stop going any further. But I've seen a lot of police actually joining the cause, which is something that I think that we definitely wanted to see, is that a lot of police actually joining the cause of the movement, because it's something that we just want to get out there. We don't think that all cops are bad. We don't think that just like I would hope people don't think all the protesters are rioting. It's the same thing. We don't think all the police are bad and all the police are killing Black people. We just think that there are individuals that are, but it should we're trying to make it more aware, so that way people can understand that, and then we don't have to do a protest um, every time a black person gets killed. It can be they can do an investigation, and they'll properly arrest the person if they're at fault, and it'll go to trial, and then the officer will get prosecuted accordingly. That's what we're looking for, is the justice system to work in a way where it actually works how it's supposed to work for individuals. It's not going to be where we have to protest in order for cops to get arrested because they killed somebody on camera, where it was blatantly obvious that they killed that individual, regardless of whatever George Floyd's background is, regardless of whatever happened beforehand, regardless of anything. He was killed by a police officer. It doesn't matter anything else that happened. That officer killed him on camera. He begged for his life. He got killed on camera. There's no denying that fact. Anybody that says that is obviously being ignorant, because it doesn't matter what happened. It doesn't matter who George Floyd was, anything like that. Everything that happened on that camera in that 8 minutes was him begging, fighting for his life, and that officer denying him of that fact. So I think that he should have gotten arrested immediately. That should have been something that we shouldn't have had to stand up to protest against. It should have been done immediately. When is the justice system going to come together and actually start working in our favor? Because it's like they're like kind of like babying the police departments. I understand policing is a hard job to do because I was a cop, actually. I was a cop in the Air Force, which I think I've told you guys before. I was a cop in the Air Force. And I know some things, or I know everything about the job, or how about being an officer, at least from a military standpoint, which I think is which we had probably more policies because we were police from the military than just your standard officers, your standard police officers. So I know for a fact that you can only use certain force after a certain while. You can't you have to go by certain steps in order to use certain force. You can't just go straight to deadly force, which is obviously pulling out your pistol or whatever. So you have to use certain forces and stuff like that. So a lot of these officers that don't even think about that, they just go straight to deadly force instead of using the steps in order to kind of you don't want to you want to I'm trying to think of the word that I'm trying to say. You want to bring the situation down, or you don't want to heighten the situation. You want to bring it down. I forgot what the word is, but you basically that's why you use certain things of force. And I can remember that. So, and I'm sure it's not very different from civilian police officers, in a way that they should be using a certain steps for use of force. So you don't just go straight to deadly force, which is pulling out your pistol. That's deadly force, which means your life is on the line. and you have no other choice but to use deadly force. A lot of these cops are using that instance right away, which is, and it's mostly with black men. And it's a little bit frustrating. And it's kind of sad that we still are in a country where it's it's racism going on. It is racism going on. And I'm hoping, I have faith that this is these acts of these protests are going to change that atmosphere, or change that, or just change the atmosphere into what we need, or change our environment so that way systematic racism will be a thing of the past and we'll no longer have that. I know it's going to take a long time, but these are one of the this is definitely one of the steps to changing the world. And the protests, I hope, continue on, and I hope we do more things, to protest. Like, for instance, um, we have July 7th, where nobody's supposed to spend any money. So it's called Blackout Day, and July 7th, Blackout Day. So if you're a supporter of Black Lives Movement, we don't want you to spend any money on that day. Not a single dollar, not spending it anywhere at all. We're going to take that day and we're going to not spend any money, because we want to hit these people where it hurts the most, which is their pockets. Which I was talking with my parents, which made a lot of sense, is that a lot of these places use a lot of these big business owned places use the police, or use the jail system to, what was it called? She said it was like create their products, like that create their products, and they use like people in jail to create it, but they charge them so little and they make so much money off of them. It's kind of like, it's like modern day slavery. So just some of these places, I'll figure out a list of places or whatever, and I can tell you guys next time. But July 7th is when we're not going to be spending no money. That's when we don't, that's another wave of us kind of kind of protesting. Another form of protest is we're going to not spend any money, because we make majority of black people in this country make up like billions of dollars in the industry by spending money in these white owned companies. So if all minorities, blacks, all Latinos, Chinese people, Muslims, Indians, all if all of us come together and not spend a dollar for one day, and we can see how dramatically that'll change the economy, they'll start to listen to us more. We have to start start putting our money, start spending like consciously start spending your money in places that are black owned instead of white owned, and let them start seeing how losing black business is important, how important it is to have black business, and how much they're going to have to start siding with us and listening to us and taking our lives. And they'll only take our lives seriously if they'll stop getting money for us. If they stop getting money off of us, they'll start taking our lives more seriously, basically. So we got to start consciously start thinking about where we're putting our money in. I know I want to start looking into more places that are Black owned and start supporting them and start raising or start supporting our Black brothers and sisters and giving them the opportunity to get somewhere in life. You know what I'm saying? It's just if we start taking better care of our Black communities, then we'll be better off. But that's just some of the ways you can try to help if you're not going out to these protests, which, like I said, I've went to 2 protests and they were perfectly peaceful. um there was no there was no rioting or anything going on. It wasn't until nightfall where some of it was going on, but like I said, I think that had a lot to do with opportunists that just seek the opportunity to cause destruction because they want to steal, they want to take stuff, but they're not part of the protest at all. And in a sense, I don't blame them. They're just, maybe they're fed up or they're tired of not getting what they're told they should have or something like that. Maybe they're just done and they're tired of like stuff like that. But I think that's about as much as I'm going to go on to the subject. I don't want to go too far into it. You guys need, just try to keep your mind open to what you're hearing about. Do a lot of research because there's a lot of things that are being said right now about certain things that aren't true. So do your research. Um, like keep in mind, um, keep in mind that a lot of these people's opinions are just that, are just opinions. If you're gonna do fact checks, look into Black history and see where this is all coming from. How police from this boils down from um, a lot from slavery times or slavery time, um, segregation times, where a lot of police were policing the Black communities. I mean, just look into it. Don't just listen to what you hear. And like I said, the media is going to show you a lot of what the rioting and stuff that's going on, but that's not what's happening. If you really look into it, there's a small percentage of people that are doing the rioting and looting, and there's so many more people that are looking just peacefully protest. So, and this is all justice for George Floyd at the end of the day. Um, Justice for all of the names, everybody, everyone that's lost their life to police brutality. Um, so yeah, in that case, on that note, because I can pretty much talk about it all day. On that, but I'll leave it short. So I love you guys. Spread love. Think for yourself. Live free. All right. Goodbye. Bye bye.